Well, hello again, and welcome to another episode of the Hyperion Adventures Podcast. I'm Tom. As always, I'm with my gorgeous, wonderful, super intelligent, very hard-working Walt Disney World during a pandemic loving wife and co-host Michelle.
You're so sweet. Hi, everybody.
So good to have you with us. We are back, and we are actually recording this episode today, Sunday, February 28th, 2021. None of this, we recorded this 3 weeks ago, and now it's going out. This is actually being recorded today. And obviously, I don't know when you're listening to this, but we are back from our vacation.
I know. I hope this is like riding a bike, because it feels like it's been forever since we recorded a podcast.
It's been only 3 weeks, but... Yeah, it's still, we kind of get back in stride here, but we have a lot of stuff to talk about, so it's going to be a lot of fun today for sure. Yeah. Thank you for joining us today. In the future, you can find us most everywhere you get podcasts. However, the very best place to find us is on our own website, HyperionAdventuresPodcast.com, and while you're there,
we would love you to sign up for our newsletter.
Please sign up for the newsletter. We got back in with a newsletter again this week. I had to kind of rush it out after getting back from vacation, but I got it together. It was out there, and it's going to be back out most weeks, virtually every week from here on going forward, unless we have another trip or whatever, or some other things come up. But it's just a kind of another way to just be within the Hyperion Adventures podcast. No, just be involved with what we have going on.
Right. And you don't have to worry. We don't share that email address with anyone.
Nope. It's just for us, just to let you be involved more within our world. Another way to be involved within our world is to follow us on social media. We have a lot of fun on social media. Maybe you were following along with us on our vacation on social media. If you ever want to check us out there, please find us on Twitter at Hyperion Podcast, Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest at Hyperion Adventures Podcast. We are on YouTube. We have caught up on a lot of videos this week. I was putting out a lot of videos of episodes
hard, honey.
I wasn't able to get to while we were away, but we broke a lot of those out this week. And if you want to check us out there, search for Hyperion Adventures Podcast, hit subscribe, and you'll know whenever we have a new video. And if you ever want to contact us for any reason, please hit us up at our Gmail account, HyperionAdventuresPodcast@gmail.com.
We sure love hearing from you. We love the interaction, the people who really take the time to give us feedback or participate in some of our polls and things like that. So thank you, everybody.
Yes, thank you for whatever way you're in contact with us. We just appreciate all of you. And we did have some listener input this week, catching up on some of our prior episodes.
Yes.
We had a couple episodes in the past, and we threw it out there, even though we didn't send this stuff out ahead of time for you to join us and give your input on it before the shows. You did give us some stuff, and we're going to share it with you now. So we'll start with from our 5 favorite underrated Disney films, the episode we did a couple weeks ago. And this came from Jonathan and Camille, who hit us up through email.
Okay.
And they said, "Hey, Tom and Michelle, here are our top 5 underrated Disney movies in no particular order. Atlantis, I know that's a favorite, Enchanted, which I never really thought of as underrated, but I guess it is.
I get that.
I love Enchanted. I think that's a great choice. Tron Legacy, very kind of gotten pushed by the wayside a little bit. Everybody remembers Tron. Tron Legacy kind of got shoved to the side, but it is an interesting movie for sure. A Great Mouse Detective is another. That's a great underrated choice. Thank you, Jonathan and Camille. And Shipwrecked, which I don't think I've ever seen. Have you seen Shipwrecked?
I don't know. It doesn't ring a bell in terms of what it's about or anything, but I don't know. It kind of also rings a bell that I might have seen it.
Yeah, I'll have to check it out and see if we can find it somewhere. I don't know if it's on Disney Plus or not, but we'll have to take a look and see what it's all about, because they say it's a great film, and I trust Jonathan and Camille. So thank you guys. I appreciate that. We also had some input on last week's episode, our 5 favorite Marvel movie moments. I'll start with Josh, who hit us up on Twitter. You can find him at Tombstone Josh. He said 5, the opening of Ragnarok. Of course, the Thor Ragnarok. Yeah, that's fun. Number 4, any of Scott Lang with his daughters and their interaction. Those are always enjoyable as well. Vulture as the girlfriend's dad. So if you know from Spider-Man Homecoming that, it's such interesting that basically the bad guy is the dad of the girl that Peter Parker is trying to date, which is really intriguing in that film. Number 2, Cap showing up behind the train in Infinity War. So, they just comes in to save the day, and it just appears. He and also Black Widow. And, so it's so cool.
Very nice.
And finally, Cap getting, I can never say this right, Mjolnir, which is Thor's hammer in Avengers Endgame. That was another great moment.
Right.
I didn't list in my Avengers Endgame moments, but is really good.
It's definitely cool.
Frank from Dillo's Diz also hit us up on Twitter. You can find them at Dillo's Diz, Dillo's with an S, Diz with a Z. He said, Frank's quick mention 5 MCU moments. The burger scene with Happy in Endgame with Tony Stark's daughter. That one's great. When Liz's dad opens the door in Spider-Man Homecoming again, finding out that the bad guy is the dead father of the girlfriend.
Right.
That's good. The Stark Expo, a guy can dream that will happen here in New York City. Frank's from New York. Frank and Jen are both from New York. Yeah. So that's kind of funny. And all of the original Iron Man, he says. So really cool. So thanks, guys. Finally, Scott in Minnesota hit us up with an email. And he said, hey, guys. Can't wait to hear about your trip and experiences down at Walt Disney World. Nice. I love seeing all the photos on Instagram. Again, follow us on social media if you want to check some of those out. In regards to your top 5 Marvel movie moments, I have a couple of lists for you. Of course you do, Scott.
Bravo. Bravo.
The first, which I agree with Tom, come from Avengers Endgame, which my wife and I watched last night. Actually, just the last fight scene after the podcast in chronological order. On your left, which was a great callback, letting Cap know that the cavalry is coming. Right. That was my number 1 pick, as a matter of fact. Cap calling for and wielding Mjolnir, then asking for the Avengers to assemble. It gives me chills every time I think about it, even in writing this email.
Yeah.
Number 3, the cannons stop raining fire and focus on an unknown object entering the atmosphere. Carol Danvers, Captain Marvel, of course, to the rescue, laying waste to Thanos' ship in record time. Right. Yep. Number 2, it's okay, Tony. You can rest now. Yes. Tears every time, he says.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely, for sure. And I love you 3000. He says, damn it, I haven't stopped crying yet for 60 seconds ago. So that's good. He said, well, that's my time for today, kiddos. I hope I left you enough time to recap your vacation. Not sure, Scott. We may have to do this in 2 parts now. Thanks, Scott in Minnesota. So great stuff there. And we'll still, if you want to add some more stuff, although it seems like everything was covered now by Scott in Minnesota.
Yes.
If you want to add anything else, please send it to us and we'll add it on a future show. As for this week's show, lots of stuff for you this week, including another couple of steps toward getting a little more Disneyland in our lives. Again, was announced this week. We'll tell you about that. And we now know when several highly anticipated series will be debuting on Disney+. We'll talk all about that as well. But let's get to our main topic of the week. Yeah, we've been excited about this one for a long time, and we can't wait to share it all with you. It's our February 2021 Walt Disney World trip recap episodes. We're going to tell you not complete details of everything we did with every day, but we are going to hit a lot of the highlights of the things that happened to us along this vacation, tell you about our visits to the parks, hopefully give you, especially if you haven't had the chance to visit yet since the pandemic, what it's like out there, and if you have a trip planned or you're thinking about planning a trip, maybe what you can expect.
Right. I think, that hopefully would be helpful, and, just seeing some of the changes, and even now it's still evolving, and so, kind of the interesting aspect of how Disney has approached this.
Yeah. So we're going to kind of go through it and just have a little fun with it and share it all with you. And we're actually going to start with the vacation. Vacation. It started for me a bit earlier than it did for Michelle. That's because if you listened back in July, you may know that I flew out to Florida, picked up our son Scott because he spends about half the year with his birth father. I'm his stepfather. He has his birth father who also lives out in Florida. I picked him up and drove him cross country back in July. Well, it was time for him to go back. We actually had him out here longer than we normally would because of everything going on, but it was time for him to go back. So once again, he's not prepared to fly. We don't think he could keep a mask on for 5, 6, 7 hours, whatever it is, through the airport on an airplane for the entire time. And it may, he has some OCD issues. may just bother him. So it was easier just to drive him cross country. And so that's what I did. 5 days from San Diego to Florida, stops in New Mexico, Texas, Louisiana, Tallahassee, Florida. Finally met his father outside of Orlando, and Michelle as well. Yeah. And that's where we passed him off.
Right. And you lucked out on the extremely thin window of weather throughout the country, where it made it a much more tolerable drive, I would think.
Yeah. And I was thinking as the trip was going on, I'm like, wow, we're hitting, like 30s and 40s topping out as we were passing through most of Texas, through Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama. And I was thinking, wow, I'm surprised, especially because we're more south. We were down around San Antonio and Houston, whatever, that is really cold. And we're a little surprised by that. And we hit some storms and everything else. But obviously we just barely missed the horrible weather that went through that area and across most of the country right after that. And, our thoughts and prayers were with you all that had to get through that all. Hopefully you were all safe and doing okay out there, because some of the scenes from out there were horrific.
Right. It's, and, we definitely understand and know tragedy, and we know how like you said, how heart-wrenching that is. And that, even though it may not be prominent in the news right now, these people are still living with these issues and these challenges. So yes, as you've mentioned, our thoughts and prayers for everybody out there going through that difficult time. For sure.
But as far as the window that we drove through, we were very lucky, because right before that, we had a winter storm pass through California, and some of the mountain passes that we had to go through were snowed out, and it would have been tough to get through there, or I would have had to go way around it. And then right afterwards, like I said, the terrible weather. I don't know if we could have even made it through Texas at that point, because it was so bad.
Right.
So we just lucked out in the window that we made it through. So anyway, got out there. Michelle joined us after Pass got off to his father, and we've heard from him out there. He's already adjusted and having a good time out there in Florida. We got together and headed out to Michelle's sister and brother-in-law's condo, which is right out on the Space Coast, right on the water, and enjoyed a few days just to relax before our Walt Disney World trip after that.
Yeah, it was really, really great to have that time to just decompress, like for you, for all the driving that you did, and then just to have time alone for us. And it was a very special experience that we got to see a night launch from SpaceX. And so, it was really special to have those few days just alone, and just not to feel like we had to be anywhere at a particular time, no reservations for anything. So it was just really relaxing.
Just a couple days to completely decompress before we headed out to the Walt Disney World Resort. We ate some good food, looked out at the ocean, saw that rocket launch, which we lucked into. We had no idea that they were going to be doing a rocket launch while we're out there, and that, there was some weather going through. We weren't even sure it was going to go off. We lucked into that, strolled the beach, toured the area, and we also visited some of Michelle's family. We did a very socially distanced, fully masked visit with her mother, and we even saw her niece as well. She stopped by, and it was just a really nice first few days of our vacation.
Yeah, it really was special, and I think it was the best way to start the trip.
For sure. So then we headed to the Walt Disney World Resort, and we did that on Tuesday, February 16th. By the way, we also had Valentine's Day out at the Space Coast, which was really nice. Just the two of us have a little quiet time just together, and that was really special as well. So we're going to go through this kind of park by park that we visited, not necessarily day by day. We may talk a little bit about what happened each day, but just kind of park by park. Which park do you want to start with that we visited at the Walt Disney World Resort?
I guess we could start from the first park that we went into, which was Epcot, and I know we did do it a couple days. So how about starting there?
Sure. So we our first day, and we visited 2 and a small portion of another day to Epcot. Of course, it was the last week of the Taste of Epcot International Festival of the Arts, and we were excited to check that out. We sampled a lot of food, saw some of the displays, and just really had a good time out there.
Right. It was our first time to see the new entrance, and I loved it. I thought it felt right. It looked right. It just seemed really to hit the mark there. And so I thought that was really wonderful. And we had taken opportunities for a lot of photo ops this trip. And that was one of the first ones, so that we could capture that that new entrance.
Yeah, the fountain is beautiful. I loved it. We didn't get to see it at night. I wish I could have. We were never at the entrance at night. We came in one time at night, but we went through the International Gateway. Right. So we didn't get to see it at night, but still enjoyed it very much. Now, one thing you're going to see as a kind of a theme going through this is we didn't do a lot of attractions.
Right.
Not that we couldn't have. We just didn't. We instead took a lot of pictures, sampled a lot of food, and just enjoyed Disney for the most part. And that especially was the case at Epcot. Sampling food, right. Walking around, people watching, just seeing what it was like, during the pandemic, everybody masked, and what the experience would be like.
Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of the food and offerings, it was similar to other times that they've had festivals there. So that just kind of felt regular. I think interesting things that I observed were like going into buildings, that there was always somebody there really monitoring, counting how many people, keeping track of how many people. At first, it was a little concerning because one of our first stops was the Land Pavilion, and there was a rather long line that didn't seem to be moving just to get into the building, let alone to get onto the attractions. And so we diverted. But fortunately, we saw on another day that it was just walk in like you would normally expect to happen.
Yeah, and we did get to experience living with the land that day. I think that we kind of, because the first day we arrived right around lunchtime after we packed everything up, drove all the way from the Space Coast out there, got into the park and everything. And I think that between two of the more popular attractions were there. There's also Sunshine Seasons and the Garden Grill there. And I think that because it was lunchtime, that maybe some people were trying to get in there and get some food or whatever. I don't know. But it was difficult. And it was a busy trip. This was that Tuesday was the day after President's Day. Right. And I think that kind of had a little bit of reason why there was a lot of people there for that. So we were in Epcot on, it was the 16th, which was the Tuesday. And we were also there on the Friday, which was the 19th. Just to let you know. But we sampled a lot of great food. Sushi donut is still a hit. We got it multiple times. Love the sushi donut. We hit some rain on our second day there. There was like some storms that went through. I went and got a short rib. I think it was in Germany. And right after I got my short rib, it just downpoured on us. And I'm sitting there trying to, with an umbrella and my poncho, trying to protect my short rib from being completely washed out while we tried to find some cover. It was quite interesting. Right.
I was in line over at the pavilion in front of Italy and or the kiosk in front of the Italy pavilion, and same kind of thing. Well, when I first got there was several people in line. I'm like, oh, is this dish going to be worth it? And then it started to rain a bit and people were leaving line. So I was like the second person now in line. I thought, oh, that's great. And then all of a sudden it just poured down and you had the umbrella, and so I thought, all right, this is not a time to get a pasta dish when it's
I try to run and meet up with you as fast as possible, and once I got there, we went and ran for cover. We got you some food, and things worked a little bit better. The rain actually slowed up after that. There wasn't as much rain after that, so which was good.
Yeah, so that that was good, but the food was good. I really enjoyed a lot of it. A lot of trying different dishes, some things that were like I said, like you mentioned with the sushi donut, and there was a couple other things that were duplicates of other ones that we've had, but there were some new ones there. I tried the plant-based brats, and it was really good.
Hard to eat.
It was
very difficult to eat, but it was. I didn't taste it, but Michelle said it was really good.
Yeah, it was delicious, and and I like regular brats too. So I mean, and they had a lot of nice toppings on it as well. So that was great. I think my all-time favorite, and I'm hoping they're going to bring it to every future festival, is a chocolate sipping trio.
Yeah, what was it called? The Symphony or something like that?
Yes.
Where it was the sipping chocolate trio with booze in it, by the way, because you need that as well. It was a white chocolate, a milk chocolate, and a dark chocolate, and they all had different liqueurs within them, and it was delicious.
It was. I mean, there were small cups of it, but enough to share. And I would normally never think that I would want to drink chocolate. I mean, obviously, you can enjoy like a hot chocolate drink, but that's usually more watered down or milk in there or whatever. And this was a lot thicker, more rich chocolate flavor. But Oh my God, it was amazing.
I cannot confirm or deny whether we got that like 3 or 4 times during the trip. We only visited 3 times to the park. We may have got it 3 or 4 times.
Right.
I cannot confirm or deny that for our own waistlines purposes, but it was delicious.
It really was. It was. And it was fun. But they also had some nice other beverages to try. We tried some beers, some wines as well. And I think we had something that was non-alcoholic. I'm trying to remember now which one that was. Maybe not. But we tried different cocktails this time, which we don't typically do. We typically stick with the wine or beer. And this time we tried a few of the cocktails and enjoyed those as well.
Yeah, there was a white sangria that we enjoyed. I think that was in Italy. And there was what was the pink one? And the pink, I can't remember, but it was from Japan. Yeah, that was really good as well.
Right.
So, yeah, we enjoyed all those. And we did get a nice dark beer from, I can't remember what the one that's at the American Adventure Pavilion, what the name of that kiosk is. But that we got that beer a couple times because we enjoyed it
exactly.
very much, so.
You know, and you know, from the perspective of COVID, you know, and I know a lot of other bloggers, vloggers, and podcasters have already talked about this. I know it doesn't need a lot, but in case you hadn't heard before, they do have it where you're not to walk and eat or drink. So you do have to find a location to become stationary, you know, when you're having these.
By the way, everybody,
dishes.
Listen to that. You're not supposed to walk and drink or eat. Pull down your mask. Just pull off to the side, because we did see people doing that. And then sometimes the cast members are around to, you know, call them out on it.
Right.
But not every time.
Right.
So remember that when you're out there. It doesn't take for a second. Just if you want to drink or you want to bite, step to the side, pull down your mask, have that drink, have that bite, then pull your mask back up above your nose, please.
Exactly. Try to avoid getting into a queue, an attraction queue with food or drink. That, you know, that might help you out a little bit.
That as well.
Right.
You're not supposed to do that, by the way.
Right. But they did, you know, and again, as been mentioned a lot already, they did do a lot of great things in terms of distancing and being able to easily tell how far away you should be from somebody. If you're in a queue that snakes and you're going to be next to somebody, you know, having the plexiglass up there on some of the attractions.
Or they stagger the line is that where you were supposed to stand. Not everybody understood that, and they still just went the 6 feet apart, but they staggered the lines where you're supposed to be. We learned pretty quickly where the lines in the queues were and where to follow through and when to move forward. It was pretty interesting.
Right, exactly. You know, and as other people have also mentioned, you know, they were very strict on people wearing their masks appropriately, whether they were adults or kids. You know, I thought the few times that I saw them do that, they handled it really nicely. And, you know, I don't think they made anybody feel uncomfortable about the request. And, you know, it's announced throughout the day at the parks overhead. You hear them reminding everybody of that requirement. And so I think people, you know, were pretty good about complying with that. I think the other thing in terms of, like, we were talking about getting into buildings and the counts, you know, so like if you wanted to go into a shop, you might have to wait, but not frequently. Frequently, it's just that they had a controlled entrance and exit being different location. But unfortunately, we weren't able to get into the Mexico Pavilion. That one is very popular and obviously for a lot of great reasons. And we could have, if we wanted to wait it out, we just didn't choose that, but that one was consistently having longer lines.
Right, and I think with the Mexico Pavilion, if you've been in the pyramid there, it's rather tight spaced. You know, so they wanted to really monitor how many people were in there at any one given time. So there was almost always a queue to get into that pavilion, and we just never went in. It just never worked out for us. But we did do a couple of attractions there. We did. We had to do Frozen Ever After because hashtag Real Men Love Frozen. We did do Living with the Land as we talked about. We saw the new Canada Far and Wide, which we hadn't experienced before. You're a big fan of Canada. What did you think of the new version?
I really liked it. You know, at first I thought it was a little bit slow. I love those actors. You know, they're some of my favorite actors, actually. And I thought, it's a little bit slow, but I loved the visual effects of everything. But how it ended, I just cried.
But you always do. She's very emotional with it.
I do.
She has some Canadian blood, so she strikes close to home for her.
Right.
We watch it.
But I do like how they wrapped it up and really made an ode to the very original, you know, Circle Vision film that they had there. And so I thought that was lovely and very emotional for me. having experienced that from a long time ago. So. Yeah.
Yeah.
What did you think?
I liked it. I don't know if I enjoyed it more than the last version. I never saw the original version, but I liked it when it was Martin Short,
right?
Doing the narration. As far as Eugene Levy and Catherine O'Hara doing it, I thought they did a good job.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're quite as funny as Martin Short doing it, but I thought they were entertaining. And again, yes, they're two of our favorite actors.
Right.
Sure.
Exactly.
So I enjoyed it. And we also did Spaceship Earth, which was fun to get a chance to do as well. I think that's all the attractions we did at Epcot. Right?
Yeah. It was funny in Spaceship Earth when they took the picture how your mask was like a green screen.
Yeah, mine was, I think I wore a gray mask that day, and that's it. That was basically the green screen of the the thing where they take your pictures if you've been on Spaceship Earth, and they do that little cartoon at the end of what your life would be like in the future or whatever. So my mouth was just whatever,
It's like a space, like it was just like a gap.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. It's funny stuff.
Yeah.
So. What park do you want to hit up next? Or are we done with Epcot? Is there anything else you want to say about Epcot?
Let me think about Epcot. I think we covered it. It was beautiful. You mentioned even though there was some challenges sometimes with the weather, I think it was still easy to have a great time there. As we've heard, they are increasing the capacity, so you could tell it was still a little bit more than half full for sure, but people were able to, manage getting around. And I thought things looked really nice and pretty for the most part.
We only park hopped one day. We had the ability to park hop. We only did it one day, and that day was with Epcot. We did it with some friends that we met there, which we'll be talking about in a little bit. You could tell a lot of people park hop to Epcot, which doesn't surprise me with the food and options and everything that's going on there. It was pretty busy when we got there later in the day. I think a lot of the parks you would see, I know when we'll talk about some of these other parks we were in later in the day, actually the crowds thinned out pretty well, and we could have hit some more attractions if we so decided. But Epcot was pretty full later in the day for sure.
Right. Well, like you said, they had the food options. It was, the closing weekend of the food festival. So I think those were kind of big draws for people. And, one of the things I think we mentioned is when we were out there is one, it was like a spring break time for some places with some schools. But also it was originally, because that's what we made the reservations for to go out at this time, was the one of the Run Disney events. And so I think there was probably still a lot of people who kept those reservations and still planned a trip at that time.
Yeah, it was a fairly busy week. We had trouble getting dinner reservations for a couple places, lunch reservations for a couple places we wanted to eat at, but we did the best, and we had some good restaurants, and we had some good meals while we were out there. So let's move on. Which park do you want to hit next?
How about Magic Kingdom?
Magic Kingdom. So Magic Kingdom was our second park we hit. We hit that on Wednesday the 17th, and we also finally hit that just for a very short time on our last day before we flew back to San Diego. So what were your highlights of us going to Magic Kingdom, Michelle?
Well, I think early on, having an opportunity to get into Haunted Mansion, where the queue was didn't take as long as what the waiting time said. So that was a nice plus. And how we've talked about in the past, we don't typically go through the whole queue, and in years past when we were with a fast pass. So it was kind of fun seeing some of those sites. Obviously, you couldn't do the interaction part of it, but it was still fun to see some of that pre-area to go on to the attraction.
Right, and the stretching room is, you don't get the pre-show. The stretching room isn't going right now. You pretty much go right on the attraction once you're in there. That was a lot for a lot of these attractions that have some sort of pre-show to them. There was none of that. Anything where you were mostly mingling in a single room. There's a couple there of differences in that, but as far as like Haunted Mansion and I think Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, there's a pre-show as well, from what I understand, having not done it before we did that. They did not have that going on for you this time. Right.
So I mean, that was fun, and like I mentioned earlier on, we really did do a lot of photo ops on this trip. I mean, part of it was because of, do we take time going on to attractions, and since we've done a lot of the attractions so many times, we thought, hey, we don't typically take moments out for photo ops. And some of the photo ops, especially from Magic Kingdom, I thought were really cute. the photographers working some of their magic that's in their cameras, especially some of the video ones that capture a little bit more, and maybe other characters in our photos within the pictures. And I thought that was really cute and fun.
Yeah, there were a lot more memory maker options this time for the PhotoPass stuff, and that was really cool. When we would look back at our photos, there's all sorts of things that would take the photos that they were existing, and they would put them in sorts of different scenes that we hadn't experienced before. So I think they're just, that's the way that they're trying to recapture some magic that maybe is not quite there right now because they, you can't do the meet and greets and so forth. So,
and especially since you still have to wear a mask during the photo.
Right. So, but yeah, we took a lot of pictures, and yeah, we could have gone on, I actually think we could have gone on more attractions if we wanted to. We're not ones that like to wait in longer lines, and the lines were fairly long for most attractions. Right. Now, I will say that we'd heard this going in, and we can confirm it, that virtually every time that's listed on the My Disney Experience app or actually out there on the attraction itself has a little bit of a cushion there. It's giving it about 10 to 15 minutes is what we found longer, what was listed, than what was actually the wait time in every queue. There was never one time that we were in a queue and waited the entire listed duration of what it said the wait time was going to be.
True. Although I don't know that we were on some that were super long, like Peter Pan. I don't know if that one would have been more accurate to what the actual wait was, but maybe not. And like you said, everything that we did, we saw that it was quicker to move through the queue than what was listed. So.
We did some that were 45, 50 minutes, and I don't think we did anything more than that. But every time it was more along the lines of 35 to 40 minutes tops, depending on it really was that cushion is there. So if you're looking at a time right now, I would say just subtract 10 minutes from it. And that is probably what your actual wait time is, but I can't guarantee that. Right. But that's just what our experience was.
Yeah, exactly.
So we also did the Carousel Progress. Great to do that again. We had lunch at the Jungle Navigation Company Limited Skipper Canteen, which is one of our favorite spots. It's probably we have to hit it up every time we go to Walt Disney World at least once for lunch. Love the kind of exotic food, the little bit of the Jungle Cruise vibe that's in there and everything, complete with corny jokes and everything else. So we enjoyed that as well.
Yeah, it was really good. As we saw with other menu, the selection was smaller than in the past, but it was still definitely broad enough to have something for everybody.
And the way you do it now is that they have a little card there. You scan it with your phone, and your menu comes up right on your phone, so you can kind of know what you're like, and then you're not handling other menus, right? And it's actually really easy to work. So and it works very well. A lot of things are also only mobile order at a lot of different places as well. So be sure you have that ready on your app. Any of the quick service restaurants are almost entirely just mobile order. That's the only way you can get the stuff.
True. So. I mean, we did another fun thing that we lucked out on because you had a great eye was we got on to Pirates of the Caribbean very quickly because they had it shut down for a little while. And you noticed as soon as they reopened it, we were in the right place at the right time. And bam, it was
the only attraction we went on our very last day there. And pretty much the very last thing we did at the parks was we had decided to get lunch. We'd never eaten at Pecos Bills before. And we were like, okay, well, they have some interesting things that I'd like to sample there. We got a couple of bowls. I think I had the carnitas bowl with black beans and everything, and you had more of a veggie bowl and ate that. And we were sitting there and we're watching all the cast members in front of Pirates of the Caribbean, and I mentioned to you, I'm like, wouldn't it be cool if they just happened to open it up, because it had been consistently like Pirates was a longer wait than even Haunted Mansion, which is always bizarre to me because Pirates, I love Pirates. I like it better at Disneyland than I do at Walt Disney World, but it's no way as good as to me as Haunted Mansion. So it was always surprising me that it was such a long wait and we weren't going to bother with it. But then it happened that we just finished our lunch. I had just run to the restroom. I came back to Michelle. I'm like, they just opened it up. We ran over there, got in. 5 minutes is all we had to wait on Pirates of the Caribbean. It was great. It was a great way to wrap up our trip, as a matter of fact.
Yes. It was also interesting to see on Sunday, which was our last day, that the crowd level there was pretty high. And I thought that was a good sign. That's kind of more what pattern you would see pre-COVID, that especially with spring breakers or holiday time, people tend to arrive, they're traveling on Saturday and they hit Magic Kingdom first on the Sunday. So it was, to me, I saw it as a positive sign.
I think that, and I also thought about that. I think right now, I think that obviously there are more people that are actually traveling to Walt Disney World than were, 5-6 months ago, and especially when they reopened. But I still think it's mostly people that are driving there. I don't think as many people are flying into Orlando. Right. So that's the fact that it's within a certain radius of people being able to drive there. I think there's a lot of people that are just going there for the weekend, going there even just for a day, a Saturday, a Sunday, etc. So maybe that's why a little bit of why we saw the weekends being a little busier.
That's a good point.
So.
Yes.
Anything else about Magic Kingdom that you wanted to get to?
No, not that I can think of. Anything from your perspective?
Cavalcades were great. We saw both rainy day cavalcades and regular cavalcades going through. Rainy days, they were in a lot more of the vehicles that would normally be traveling up and down Main Street USA, at least early in the morning before it gets too crowded and they can't go anymore. Later in the day, they had some of the floats that you've seen in other parades and stuff going through there. We saw Tinkerbell, the princesses, Mickey, Minnie, the Sensational Six. Really good time.
Oh, they actually had a rainy day parade, if you remember, and it had that song, the rainy song from Manhattan Transfer, which is a really cool song.
So that was like the cavalcades. They were a lot of fun. And you can always, Michelle's tip from a while back is if you listen to the music change, there's a cavalcade coming. We heard that many times. So it was a lot of fun. Through all the parks. All the parks had their own cavalcades, and they were all a good time. So anything else?
I don't think so.
Okay, let's get to our final park we visited. Now, we didn't get to Animal Kingdom Park this time, and part of that is because we've mentioned in the past, it's not our favorite of the parks. We enjoy a lot of the stuff there. We do love Disney's Animal Kingdom Park, but we just the hours were shortened, and we just couldn't find it within this vacation. We have another vacation traveling there, and I think we'll try and get out there during that April trip.
Yeah.
But this one, it just didn't work out for us, unfortunately.
I think we were thinking we could do that as a park hop. And like you said, they closed a little earlier than...
They were closing at 5 p.m.
Right.
It was really early.
It was really tough. And, some of the days that we had thought about doing it, it was rainy. And we thought, do we really want to bother going out there with a lot of rain going on? It was easier just to kind of stay where we were at. So
Right. So not this time. But we do look forward to experiencing the next time we're out there. As for the other park that we hit, of course, is Disney's Hollywood Studios. We hit that twice. We hit it on Thursday, February 18th, and on Saturday, February 21st. Now, we did get Rise of the Resistance 2 times while we were out there. The first time, I was up early in the morning, 7 a.m., didn't land it. I was a little disappointed by that, but we're like, that's okay. We'll make the best of it. Rope dropped and went out there and experienced Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway for the first time. Yeah, we still had to wait 40. We weren't exactly rope drop. We were maybe 10 minutes late from rope drop. So there was a little bit of a line, but 45 minutes, which was actually about 35 minutes. What did you think of Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway?
Oh, I thought it was great. And I think a lot of people say that about it. I think the one thing that I was visually stimulated. I loved the whole storyline and all the effects of it. I could see where that might be a little intense for some smaller kids, the darkness of it at times. But I, from our perspective, it was wonderful.
I love the animation everywhere with some audio animatronics as well mixed in with it. I love the various different characters from all sorts of different shorts and movies and everything else that pop up there. So many different characters that you've experienced at some point along, and they all play a key part. I love the trackless vehicles and how they move along. And, it's kind of like what I like about Rise of the Resistance is you don't really know where you're going. So it's kind of fun. I think there's so much to see that, our first time going through that attraction, we only did it once. It was like, wow, just taking it all in. And I'm looking forward to, picking out little pieces of it because I think there's a lot to see throughout it.
Yeah, definitely. And you brought up about trackless. That's what Ratatouille will be like as well. So looking forward to that coming out soon too.
Right. So loved it. Can't wait to go do it again. Can't wait to see when they actually have the opening portion of it, the pre-show, pour it again someday when things get back to what are somewhat normal. normal. But love Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway and can't wait to do it again. Now, for our first day there, we didn't do a lot of Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, and I'll tell you why that is in just a moment here. But we did stop for a breakfast Ronto wrap because we have to, because yes, we had to. And did just kind of check out Batuu just because it'd been so long since we'd been there, stopped in there. But then we kind of just, went around the rest of the studios, just kind of explored. The first day we were there it was the only day that was, I'm not going to say it was really, really hot, but it was warm. Right. It was warmer than it was the rest of the days, a bit humid. There was a nice breeze, which helped a little bit, but it kind of was a little tough on us. Right. We did go and see, for the first time in forever, first time in forever, a Frozen sing-along celebration. Had never experienced that before, but hashtag real men love Frozen. So we're looking for something to check out where we didn't have to wait in a super long line. And I enjoyed the heck out of it, as you would expect I would. Michelle, what did you think of it?
I enjoyed it too. And it was interesting watching how the performers did the social distancing as well. But yeah, it was cute. It was somewhat similar to the performances at Disneyland, at least some parts of it. It's a different, because it's a sing-along and they tell the story a little differently. But if you've seen the one at Disneyland, you kind of can understand and appreciate this one.
Well, the Disneyland one is an actual play presentation, a musical play presentation of the entire movie.
Right.
Whereas this is just kind of hitting the highlights, telling the story, and then singing along for songs as you go along. Right. The historians are there telling, and I love that they do meta jokes of what's currently going on in our world, mixing in with stuff that has to do with what is in within Frozen itself. Right. And I really enjoyed it. I look forward to doing it again some other time. And I did, mask on, everybody mask on, belted out my, especially Let It Go throughout it. And it was totally enjoyable.
Yes. That was one of the attractions, though, that you really needed to get in early when they opened up the pre-show area, because they are reduced capacity for the theater, so they don't have as many spaces. And that was one of the people who was working there. One of the cast members was sharing with us, like, you want to get here earlier.
Yeah, about 30 minutes before showtime. Yes. We said it'd be pretty good. We got there. I think we actually went in. We just didn't have anything going on, so we went in about 40 minutes before showtime. We got a really good spot.
Yeah.
So that was good.
Agreed.
Good time. Took a lot of pictures. We came along to the 1 o'clock window, and we were, trying to figure out how we're going to spend the rest of our day. Like I said, it was a little warm, so we were thinking maybe we would cut out pretty soon. But we couldn't go without trying one more time for Rise of the Resistance at the 1 p.m. window. Not expecting to get it. I mean, the 1 p.m. window is tough to begin with, but also the way the attraction is, if they run into some hiccups along the way, some of these boarding groups that are after the 1 p.m. time, they may not get there at all. Yeah. But we got there, got on at 1. Michelle nabbed us a 1 o'clock boarding group. Great. It was still like 4 hours away from where our window was going to happen, and we weren't even sure that we were going to have it. So we headed back to our hotel and went and decided it was a warm day. Let's go by the pool, have some lunch, relax. And sure enough, the boarding group did come up. So we headed back to the Hollywood studios and wrote Rise of the Resistance for the first time since December of 2019, when it had just first opened up, just like a week or so before that. And it's so good. I love Rise of the Resistance so much.
It's amazing. It is really, really amazing. And there's nothing like it.
No, there's nothing like it, especially for a Star Wars fan.
Right.
Really great. Totally enjoyed it. And then we went back and went to the hotel. Now, the day I really want to talk about is Saturday, February 21st, February 20th, when we went back to Disney's Hollywood Studios. And part of the goal of that one was to meet with some friends of ours for the first time, connecting with them. Pat and Charles from the Conversations podcast. Originally, we were supposed to have our good friend Rob LeBerry from the Jedi Temple Archives podcast join us out there. Unfortunately, some things happened with him. Rob, we missed you terribly out there. I know you're listening right now. We missed you terribly out there, but we're looking forward to what's going to happen in June, because it's going to be bonkers in June when we get out there. We're going to have so much more fun in June. But we had a great time with Pat and Charles. It was so great to meet them for the first time in person.
Right. Yeah, we've been with them virtually a lot of times. They've been on our podcast. We've been invited to be on their podcast, and they're just the funniest and warmest people that you could know.
Yeah. We just spent the whole day with them, had a great time. Pat came with Grogu, dressed up with Mickey ears. Right. He had his own magic band and he had a little Grogu Disney T-shirt on. He was cute as can be. That was the hit. Yes. Wherever we went, everybody had to take a picture with Grogu.
Yeah, it was really adorable.
Fun. Yeah. We went and we in the morning, we were able to nap Rise of the Resistance during the 7 a.m. window. Got it for all four of us and got it fairly early. I think we were like boarding group 43 or something like that. I can't remember exactly what it was, but fairly early on. Once we met them at the parks, did Millennium Falcon Smugglers Run together. Had a great time with that. Then our boarding group was up. Right over to Rise of the Resistance. Right. Enjoyed the heck out of that. Took pictures with them. Laughed a lot in the queue. Then it was lunchtime. Went and, of course, got Ronto wraps. You got a new chicken salad from Docking Bay 7 Food and Cargo. I don't think you thought it was a spectacular salad.
The taste was good. It was just a lot of dressing, very heavy on the dressing.
Which you're not a big fan of.
Right. I usually go light on the dressing. I thought it was going to be on the side. And I'm sure you can probably get that option, and I didn't think of it when ordering it. But, like I said, the flavors were good. It had a lot of additional vegetables with it, so that was nice, and did have some chicken. So it's kind of like a more hefty Caesar salad.
Yeah, like a chicken Caesar.
Chicken Caesar,
yeah. Meanwhile, Pat, Charles, and I got Ronto wraps, I'm still, this was the first time I'd ever had the breakfast Ronto wrap, and that was good. I still go for the traditional Ronto wrap. I think it's better. I think the flavor profile is more interesting. I love it. I like it more. I'm not going to turn down either one of them, but I like the lunch one better. But after that, we had secured a table. We sat there, after we ate, masks on, and just talked and told stories with each other for a long time. Laughed a ton. I mean, there was so much laughter that went on with the whole group of us during this visit with Pat and Charles.
Yeah, it was hilarious. They're hilarious anyways, but it was just a lot of fun. Just, having that downtime and just connecting with people is just so wonderful, because it's something we just don't really have that opportunity a lot, especially in person.
Yeah, so. It was really nice to get together with them. We drank blue milk with rum for the first time. We've had blue milk. This is the first time we had rum with it. Loved it with the rum.
Yes, it's better.
There's some sort of theme going on with this. Something's good. It's better with booze for us.
Right.
We may have a problem. We did Star Tours. We did another run, Millennium Falcon Smugglers Run. Where we switched spots. To begin with, it was Michelle and Pat as pilots, and Charles and I were gunners. We flip-flopped that, where it was Charles and myself as pilots, and Michelle and Pat as gunners the second time through. Enjoyed it each time, although we may have, Hondo maybe wasn't thrilled with some of our piloting skills at it, but we enjoyed it. We hung out for a little bit longer, and then eventually we decided let's go over to Epcot for a little bit and get a little bite to eat. We took the Skyliner over. The only time we took the Skyliner on during the trip. For the only time we park hopped, went to Epcot. We got a little bite there, and more of the sipping chocolate, of course, was there, and just had a fantastic day with those two.
Yeah, it was. I couldn't have expected more than that. It was just a ton of fun and made for a wonderful trip.
Yeah, took lots of pictures, had a great time with them. Again, laughed a lot, and we're looking forward to connecting with them many, many, many more times in the future. Definitely listen to the Conversations podcast. It's great, fantastic, entertaining, informational, yet there's just a lot of laughter that goes on. And those guys are great guys. They're genuine, wonderful, great guys. So please check out their podcast as well.
You'll be happy that you did.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we did have plans possibly to meet up with the morning monorail crew out at Magic Kingdom on our last day. Unfortunately, they had some stuff going on that they weren't able to make it work this time. But we told them going in that we were going to be kind of busy and their schedules don't mesh. Fine. We're coming back in April, and we're planning to meet up with them there. And I'm looking forward to Justin and Samantha and hopefully Garen and McKenna possibly as well. But we're just looking forward to finally getting to connect with them in person as well.
Right, exactly.
The next trip. So. Anything else from Disney's Hollywood Studios you want to get to?
No, I mean, I don't know. the only thing, like you said, with food, it was good to have Batu to go to for food, because I think it's hard to get the reservations. It's hard to do standby reservations. Obviously, you can do some mobile ordering of things, but it was just the selection to me was a little more challenging. So I was glad to have the opportunity to go into a galaxy far, far away.
Right. It's probably the most popular park right now in Walt Disney World. I mean, Magic Kingdom maybe, and that has been for the longest time. Disney's Hollywood Studios is rivaling it right now as far as the reservations going. I know that on the Saturday, there weren't any reservations left, any park reservations left for that day. It was a fairly crowded park. But, between Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, Toy Story Land, Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. There's a lot to, where that doesn't even count the classics like the Hollywood Tower of Terror, the Rock and Roller Coaster, all those. There are some great things to experience at Disney's Hollywood Studios. So I think that's why it kind of goes quickly now.
Sure, exactly.
What about food? Now, let's get to some of the places we experienced outside of the parks itself. We did have some food at a couple different places, including one of our favorite restaurants. We experienced it way back when our last trip to Walt Disney World Resort, when the Riviera had just opened and we had stayed there. We went back to it this time and enjoyed another wonderful meal at Topolino's atop the Riviera Resort.
Right. So that is a very special place. If you're looking to really have a really special date night or celebration, that is a place to go. It is expensive, but definitely you will get the quality of food and service that you would want and expect for something very special, and that's what happened that night for us too.
Yeah, the food's not cheap, but it's well worth it. It's tasty. It's cooked well. We had a great time there. We did order a nice bottle of wine while we were there. We got a couple of appetizers. You got the escargot. I got the gnocchi. We had a couple of entrees. You had the filet, and I had the braised lamb shank. What did you think of your filet?
Oh, it was just so delicious. It was one of the recommendations from the server, and he was right. It was so wonderful, so tender, so tasty. It was cooked just exactly as I had ordered it. And he was very cautious to make sure I was happy with that. So I thought that was really good. And I also, we didn't get to finish the wine there, so I was glad that they helped us be able to have it recorked so that we could take it back to our room. So that was
we
nice.
did. And we enjoyed that back in our room as well.
How did you like your dish?
Braised lamb shank was excellent. Fork tender, coming right off the bone, just as you'd want. I'm a big fan of braised dishes, and it was really, really great. Great sauce, polenta with it, delicious. I really enjoyed it, and I would order it any other time. We also had a fantastic dessert that we were debating on whether we were going to have dessert, but the server again said, look, if you've had a molten chocolate cake, you will never want to have a molten chocolate cake after you have this one, because the center of this one is actually caramel.
Right.
So if you like caramel and chocolate, this is the dish for you. It was excellent.
Oh, it really was. And, they had on the side, they had some cream, and they also had ice cream. So you could have that as well. And some
raspberries as well to kind of break that up a little bit of a acidic, fruity bite.
Right. And it was definitely enough to share. I mean, unless you really are, if you, for some reason, were leaving hungry at the end of your meal, then you could have, I guess, each your own.
We walked away with food that we took back to our room.
Right.
And we had enough there, our plates. Well, of course, we also had appetizers as well. So
they do provide at the beginning also some baguettes and some olive oil, which is so delicious. In fact, they said they get a lot of people purchasing the bottles of the olive oil that they serve, and I can see why. It was wonderful.
Yeah, it was. It's really, really good stuff. And the ambiance there, it's. And this is obviously it's different right now because there is spacing between the tables and everything. But even with our experience there, the first time we went, we noticed that it's a nice restaurant, especially for a date night, because you can sit there with somebody and hold a conversation where you don't feel like you're talking over a bunch of people in the room.
Right.
It's relatively quiet. It's a nice location. You get great views throughout the windows of the park. When we get back to nighttime spectaculars and fireworks spectaculars going again, you can get great views if you're there in the evening of both Epcot and the Hollywood Studios when that happens again. But it's just a really enjoyable experience, and I highly recommend it if you're looking for an upscale dinner at a nice place. visiting Topolino's in the future.
Yeah, it's interesting how you're mentioning about the sound, because you do hear a lot of ambient sound, but it just doesn't. It seems to be absorbed well. That you, like you said, you can have a conversation with the people at your table.
Yeah, which is always big for us.
Yes.
We don't like loud restaurants where you're trying to, you don't quite hear, the person is right across from you, which you're having struggle with hearing what they're saying, or you having to feel like you need to raise your voice to talk to them. We just have a nice conversation when you're eating. So that was a great place. Another thing we did was we did Sanaa to go one night. We didn't get reservations for Sanaa, but you can go on the app, order ahead of time. If you let them know you're doing that, they'll let you into the resort. You go and you tell them when you're there. You pick it up, and we just took it right back to our room and had the bread service and a couple of nice entrees right in our room, and that was really cool too.
It really was, and it was convenient, and like you said, so you do as a mobile order app, and then when you get to the security gate at the resort, then you just show them that you do have that reservation. In fact, I remember he told us, okay, put now
you're
here now, so that it timed out well. And he was right. So yeah, it was really easy to do. And as much as we like being at that resort, it was also really fun taking that back to our resort and having it there. And because we also had very nice views.
Yeah. We had a great, I'm going to talk about the resort here in just a moment. It was really nice. We had a couple nice meals that were just from things we'd picked up in the park and brought back. We brought back sushi donuts one night. We had leftovers from like Topolino's, some stuff we got at the pool, some other things that we had. We just had a leftover dinner one night. And then and part of that was also Sanaa. We had some leftover bread service from Sanaa that we had eaten that night as well. And just enjoyable. It was good to be in a DVC resort where you have kind of we were in a deluxe studio, so not a full kitchen, but you kind of have a small little wet bar kitchen with a toaster and a microwave and a little refrigerator, and that worked out really well for us.
Yes. So, and with the bread service, they did give all of the different sauces, so it was
now
good.
I had to
You had to taste.
Michelle doesn't like the really spicier ones so much. I mean, she doesn't mind a little spice, but some of the really ones, even there's a couple there. Like, that one's going way over here. I'm only going to get a little bit of that one because the spice is so much. So I went through them all and kind of put them in order of what I think remembered they came from in Sanaa, but it was still a great time. But let's get to our resort. We did stay at Disney's Polynesian Village Resort, which is one of our home resorts. We have a couple of them there and the Riviera. It was the first time we've ever stayed there. We stayed in a deluxe studio with a lake view. What did you think of our room?
Okay, so I have stayed at the Polynesian one other time, but not as a DVC studio. So I really liked, a lot of things about it, like things that people have mentioned too, is that it is for a Disney Vacation Club studio. It's the largest design layout. You do have, in essence, 2 showers, so that two people could be getting ready at the same time, which I think was a really nice, convenient.
And a couple sinks too.
Right. It wasn't, 2 full-on bathrooms, but you did have a shower, one that was just a shower and sink in one, and one was a full restroom. But I thought that was nice. I liked the rain shower that they had. That was pretty nice. They had a lot of nice drawers and cabinets to store things. We had a lake view, and the building we're in is the only one that does the lake view for the vacation club. And so, you do really get a full forward on look of Cinderella's Castle and Spaceship Earth, which really looks
Space
cool.
Mountain.
Space Mountain. Yes, I'm sorry. Space Mountain, which is really cool, lit up at night too. And I definitely liked hearing the sounds of the horns for the boats that go from the ticket transportation over to Magic Kingdom. They weren't too loud. They weren't disruptive or disturbing.
Not to us anyway. Yeah.
Right.
I've heard some other people say that they're a little bit that way, but that wasn't the way we felt about it.
Right. I mean, I like the sound, but there were times that I didn't even realize it was going off, and I was like, oh yeah, that's right. I can hear the horns, so it was more like if you're paying attention, you could hear it a little bit more prominently. So I thought those kind of things were good. If fireworks were going on, it would have been a spectacular view. Yeah. For sure. What did you think?
I thought the room was spacey. It was very spacious. I enjoyed the view very much. It was a little dark in the room at times. I don't think maybe they could use a couple extra lamps, but I did like the little touches of the Polynesian decor throughout it. Some of the wall hangings and such, the lamps, all that different stuff. I found it very enjoyable. I would stay there again. Now, there is a lot of construction going on at the Polynesian Resort right now. If you don't know, the matter of fact, the monorail station isn't working right now. They're basically their lobby is not functioning right now. They still have the restaurants going there, mobile order mostly, but that's still going on. But they kind of, because it's only DVC members that are staying there right now, they kind of have
DVC rooms.
Well, that's true. Yes, the only DVC rooms that they're using right now. You're correct. Thank you for fixing that. Yes, you don't have to be a DVC member to stay there, but they are only DVC rooms that are available there right now. They kind of have a makeshift lobby in one of the buildings there, the Pago Pago building, so that's kind of where you check in. But most everything is checked in online now. But if you need to go there for whatever reason, there's a little makeshift lobby in that building. Right. But it was uncrowded. It was fine. Again, it wasn't as functional as you would expect from the Polynesian because of the construction going on. But I really enjoyed our time there.
Yeah. I don't know if you had planned to talk about some of the things that we also explored for DVC, but seeing that room, it was. I never felt crowded. You had the convenience of having the bed, and then a couch and a table and chairs in there. You had on the lanai, you had some chairs and a little table. I felt like it was a little bit more of a spacious lanai, I think just because of the width of the room, not necessarily the depth of it. But so I thought it was good. I agree with you about the lighting. It was more just on the outer rims of the room. There wasn't anything in the center of the room that would light up. So sometimes that felt really dark at times in that regards.
Not a problem during the day, but at night, especially with the parks closing earlier, we were spending a lot of evenings in the room itself, and it was a little dark. It wasn't terrible. No. It was a little dark. Another thing I'll say about it is that we were on the third floor, which there are only 3 floors, and the view out on the lake, like if there were, like you mentioned before, if there was fireworks going on in Magic Kingdom, spectacular. It would have been a perfect view of Magic Kingdom. However, you don't get to see, because of the bungalows that are out there, the electrical water pageant that goes on, you don't really get to see it. You can hear it really well. Really well, which is unfortunate.
You see some parts of it above maybe.
But we've seen it many, many times, so it wasn't a big deal for us, but it was just one of those things to know. If you're there and you're hoping that to be a big part, you're going to have to, you probably won't be able to see it from your lanai very well. You want to go to somewhere else within the resort.
One of the boat ramps or something,
yes. Exactly. So now you were mentioning we did do some tours through DVC there of a few rooms. What did you want to say about that?
So, and some people may already know this, but right now DVC is offering for people who are at the resorts, or actually, I don't know, I guess you could be going to a dining reservation and then coordinate something. But they have some of their rooms at some of their resorts that are conveniently set up to do tours. I mean, you can always do a tour. You can arrange with them, I'm sure, to do tours of certain places if you want, if there's some room available to show. But here they had some things specifically designated out. So one of them was the bungalows at the Polynesian Resort. And so they have one that's set aside on the side that they actually just have available for people to go in and tour it. And I know when we were thinking about it at first, we're like, oh, is this going to be a sell, pressure to sell more points to us? And that wasn't the case at all. I mean, they asked if we were already Vacation Club members, and then that was it. There was never anything else about more points or anything like that. And maybe if you weren't, they might try to offer an ability to set something up to have a conversation. But I don't think their purpose was necessarily to do hard sells, but more to sell up some of their more luxurious rooms. So the bungalows we saw were beautiful. They're 2-bedroom. They do have a fairly large, I wouldn't say fully wraparound patio, but predominantly. And then they have what they call a plunge pool. So it's a little small but somewhat deep pool that you could sit in. They had some nice hanging, swinging chairs and obviously some other lounge chairs, etc. So it was really beautiful. But I think when we saw it, we were like, I just don't know if I'd use my points for a 2-bedroom there. I think I would do a regular 2-bedroom, maybe Bay Lake Tower or something else.
Or the other place we toured.
I know, I don't get there. But what was your thought of the bungalows?
Bungalows were good. I think, especially when fireworks are going on,
right,
they're probably pretty spectacular.
Yes.
I enjoyed them. They seemed, I really wanted to see a little more of the texture and the artistry that you see in the rest of the Polynesian resort, and especially even in our room. It seemed a little, sterile, a little bit more.
Yeah.
Great
kind
space.
Of a kitschy kind of 50s, 60s look to it too.
It was a great space, as far as the way things are laid out, and, you are right there on the lake, on Seven Seas Lagoon there and everything, and you do get a great view. But again, just like you, I don't know if that's where I'd put our points.
Right.
Now on to where we would put our points.
Okay, so first we also tried out, we went over to Copper Creek is one of them.
Out of the Wilderness Lodge.
All the Wilderness Lodge. And they had actually two different things that you could view there. So one of them, the first one they took us to was, it's called a 2-bedroom lockout, which is in essence a studio room that you could get, just a studio room connected by a door to a 1-bedroom. So it gave us the opportunity to see what the layout would be for both of those, a studio and a 1-bedroom. And if you got the other 2-bedroom that wasn't considered lock off, it just had more ease in the entry between the two types of rooms. But that, first of all, I thought that was way above meeting expectations from my perspective. I've looked at their floor plans and looked at square footage and thought, oh, these are some of the smallest square footage places. I don't think I'd go. I don't want to feel that it's tight. And it blew my mind away that that's not the feel at all. The way they have the walls, especially in the studio where they do have the little wet bar area, it's open, so it doesn't feel like it's, you're kind of just standing next to this little box. It just kind of flows with the room a little bit better. The colors and the theming of being very, woodsy and rustic, I thought really made it a nice type of ambiance to be in. I certainly loved the 1-bedroom. Again, it's one of the smaller 1-bedrooms, but it had a lot of space. It even had a better kitchen space there than the bungalow, which, it has, both of them have all the appliances and everything, but this had a little bit more area to work if you were really going to cook, like some more counter space to actually prepare food. What was your thought of that one?
I'd stayed either one of those rooms,
right?
Or of them together. I thought they were both great, and we will be looking into staying at Copper Creek in the near future.
Exactly.
For sure.
Even though it didn't have the kind of like the additional bathroom or shower area like the Polynesian, I felt like this would be one that I would go to before I ever
went. Plus, we just love the ambience of the Wilderness Lodge in general.
Right.
So, yeah.
But the main one that we wanted to really check out at Copper Creek were the cabins that are right there on the water, kind of across from Bay Lake Tower, and they are amazing.
They're fantastic. Yeah, there's going to be at some point, we've already decided that at some point we're going to pool all our points together, try and get a couple other DVC members that we know into it. That are willing to stay with us and see if we can get a couple days out there to stay in one of these cabins.
Right.
It's phenomenal.
They are phenomenal. So they are 2 full bedrooms, first of all. So, if you are either a large family or 2, couples, they also have like the little pull out Murphy beds for the kids. In the living room, they have their sofa and one of their chairs, at least maybe 2. Fold out also for beds. So you can sleep more people there than just the bedrooms. And it's got all the conveniences that you see at other, 1 and 2 bedroom locations. But what they really have here are some special touches. So they do have more of a wraparound porch there. Some of the things that blew my mind away is like they have a fireplace or, Florida fireplace.
Yes.
It's not a Southern Cal fireplace. It's a Florida fireplace.
Or anywhere else in the country fireplace, yeah.
But, if you're sitting on the inside, like in the living room area, you have the fireplace there. And then outside, if you go to one of to the patio, there's also from that perspective little couches, and that you could see it from the backside as well. So that was really kind of a nice. And instead of a plunge pool, they have a spa out there, which is like, oh my God, yes. But just it's actually like a mini apartment.
It's really nice.
It really is nice.
Feels homey.
It does.
Feels country, even though it's, I mean, I guess it is, but it, even though it's really modern, it feels like a country cabin.
Yes, it really does. And so it looks very comfortable. They have the conveniences, as we mentioned, like a full-on kitchen, but they also have like the washer and dryer. So,
as does the bungalow and the one bedroom.
Right. Yeah. Any of the one bedroom and above have washer and dryers in there as well. But yeah, it's just it really looks like a wonderful location to have a vacation. The person from DVC, the cast member who was touring us, said, some people really like to go, like, bring a bunch of people, like a Super Bowl party or whatever. And I could see that too. But I mean, to me, the fact that you're in a wilderness area and it, has that rustic feel, it just screams to me of just relaxation and just beauty. Outdoors, there's a lot of trees around.
Big windows. You have really big windows that you can really get a good view. And they have like different shades that you can put on to kind of cut if there's a little bit too much light coming in the morning or whatever. It's really nice. Yeah.
A lot of floor to ceiling windows, and they have the what do you call them? The raised ceilings.
Yeah, A-frame type.
Kind of, so you really, like you said, have a lot. You can, and as you said, you can adjust the shades to as little or as much, as you want. And it is just fabulous.
Wonderful. And we are going to try and make some special trip sometime, somewhere midweek, like a couple nights, maybe at the end of our trip, last you somebody in to join with us on the points. But we are going to experience that at some point because we love those cabins.
Yeah. Good point, though, at the end of the trip. You don't want to start there and go to another resort. I don't care what resort you go to, unless you're going to another.
We're going to all-star
I know, right?
Or whatever. Yeah, you don't want to do it that way. No. So not that there's anything wrong with all-star movies. You just don't want to go from that to that.
Yes.
You can help it.
So that was really, I thought, a treat to really get to see that and experience that. I mean, we've seen pictures of it and everything, but actually to be able to, that was really good about the tours too, that they just kind of let you go and walk around yourself. They were available if you had questions about things. They kind of pointed out a few things so that you wouldn't miss some of the features. But it really, like I said, it didn't feel like a pressure thing. They gave you a little what do you call it?
Little piece of
artwork,
little piece of art. Yeah, as a gift, and we're showing it on the YouTube video. You can check it out there if you want. I'll put a picture of it out there,
right?
So you can see it as well.
Just for checking it out. And like I said, if you are not a DVC member, I'm sure you could inquire about getting, maybe setting up a time with somebody that you could get a lot more information about. It made me really happy we were DVC members. Yeah. And like I said, I think the Copper Creek, just the studio thing was well worth going to. It was because I don't know that I'd ever consider making a reservation there. And now it's definitely
now it's on the list.
I mean, obviously I'd always thought, I'd like to sometime do the cabins, but for just the studio, I was impressed with it.
It was good.
Yeah.
Bottom line of the whole trip is that we had a great time. We set the bar relatively low because we just didn't know what to expect from it. But we enjoyed it all. We made do with what we could do. We didn't go attraction heavy. I think you could if you really wanted to. If you don't mind waiting in a few long queues, you can definitely do that. We just adjusted our trip, taking a lot of pictures, people watching, some of the things we enjoy doing anyway, and really enjoyed. Felt very safe there. I thought that they did very well with social distancing, keeping up on people wearing their masks. There was sanitation stations all around as far as hand gel, and some hand washing stations all over the place. I was using it all the time. Brought our own as well. Felt very safe. And if you're considering going, I think you would feel the same way.
Exactly. And, and I think right now where the resorts pretty much are the vacation clubs, it is good because now that the parks are closing earlier for the most part. They do have some nights at some of the different parks do stay open, like Magic Kingdom, I think stayed open till 10. A couple of the nights that were there in Epcot, I think was about to stay open till 10. Things like that, maybe not consistently, but that kind of gave us some opportunity, like you said, one, to bring some food into the room and eat there, or to do some of these other little tours and things that we would normally not probably take the time to do because we'd be more probably park heavy.
Yeah, very much so. So we enjoyed it. We had a great time. Looking forward to going back here in April and experiencing it again, maybe a different level of things, doing things a little bit differently then, but really we're looking forward to it. I think we're going to have a great time with that as well. If you have any questions, if you're planning a trip, if you're wondering about planning a trip, feel free to hit us up on our social media, hit us up at our Gmail account. We'd be happy to answer any of them, either, just personally through those services, or if you want us to answer them on the air, we'll be happy to do that as well.
Yeah, good point.
So that is our February 2021 Walt Disney World trip recap. Such a great trip. Had such a great time.
Yes.
So great a time. This episode's running long, so I'm going to quickly go through our Disney stories of the week. I'm going to start with, we have another couple of steps going toward Disneyland reopening, at least in portion. If you want to get back there are a couple ways you're going to get a chance to experience that coming soon. This from the Disney Parks blog. They say it's time to experience some of the sights, sounds, and flavors of the Disneyland Resort with a touch of Disney, a new limited capacity ticketed experience event that begins on March 18th at Disney California Adventure Park.
Yes, it sounds kind of exciting.
Yeah, really cool. Touch of Disney, they say, offers some of the world famous food and beverages from around the resort, plus a chance to see Disney characters, shop for the latest Disney merchandise, and pose at unique photo locations. Now, it's not free. You can't just walk in there. It is a ticketed event, and because of the fact that it'll be limited capacity, tickets will probably go pretty quickly. But the price, they say the introductory price is $75. Now, that price includes parking. It includes a photo pass for you as well. And it also includes a $25 dining card that you can use at many of the kiosks. They're going to have some of the food festival kiosks open. They also have some of the regular quick service restaurants open for food. And they're going to be sharing some of the stuff like Dole Whips are going to be there. The Monte Cristo that you can normally find at New Orleans Square is going to be there. So you're going to have that chance. Now, tickets will be available on Disneyland.com beginning on March 4th for select days from March 18th through April 5th, 2021. They may open up more days. They're just trying to wait and see, hey, are we going to be able to open Disneyland? So we don't want to commit to this so far in the future. But if they see that it's going to be a while before they get to open Disneyland fully again, that they will also extend it and you can get more tickets as they go along.
Right, exactly.
So definitely check that out. Also, they'll have, if you want to just do a sit-down meal while you're there, they will have dining reservations available for you at the Lamplight Lounge and the Carthay Circle Lounge alfresco dining, so the outdoor areas of those parts. So definitely check that out. We also learned about when another part of the Disneyland Resort will be reopening this week, and this was from an email we received from the Disney Vacation Club. It said, "Dear member, today I'm pleased to share with you that the villas at Disney's Grand California Hotel and Spa are currently scheduled to reopen on May 2nd of 2021. Remember, they were originally going to try and open those up in December of 2020, and then they decided it's not the right time. They pushed it back, so they will be opening it up on May 2nd of 2021. So that's kind of cool news as well if you're looking to stay there, although I did looking to see about any reservations. There weren't really a lot available.
I'm sure.
But keep checking into it. Maybe something will pop open for you.
Right. And again, right now you can pay cash for Disney Vacation Club rooms as well. Right now they're saying that the other resorts will not be open, but who knows, as time goes on that things might change quickly.
Yeah, they're pushing in California right now for them to open up the Disneyland Resort. They're pushing hard. So we may see it, not fairly soon, but maybe somewhere mid-April, May. Maybe. Well, I think that's what Disneyland is kind of hoping for by the way they put these dates. We just got to hope for the best right now. Now, moving on, we found out a few new debut dates for some interesting shows that are headed to Disney Plus. So that's exciting stuff as well. Here, we've been loving WandaVision. So excited. Next week's finale, it's going to be bonkers.
Yeah.
Can't wait for it. Now, as far as going forward, in March, on March 19th, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, more Marvel content is starting. On March 26th, The Mighty Ducks Game Changers, the new Mighty Ducks series, is kicking off.
Cool.
I guess it's facing off, not kicking
right.
off. On April 16th, Big Shot, which is, I think it's a series. It's either a series or a movie, but it stars John Stamos in it. That is kicking off on that day, or tipping off. I guess it's basketball, I think, for that one.
Okay.
So, on May 4th, Star Wars The Bad Batch, the animated series that has some the characters that we saw in Clone Wars Season 7 last winter, will be debuting on that day. On May 14th, this one is exciting for me. High School Musical, the series Season 2 will be starting again.
Yay.
I'm looking forward to that. I'm hoping to finally get Michelle to watch the first season at some point. More Marvel in June. Loki will be starting on June 11th. That's exciting as well. More Zenimation. If you've been checking out any of the Zenimation, their season 2 of Zenimation will also be starting on June 11th. And another thing that's coming out is on June 25th, The Mysterious Benedict Society. I don't know much about that, but may check that out when that comes out. In July, something that was kind of skipped over when they did Disney Investor Day, and people were wondering if it gotten kind of shelved, but no. Monsters at Work will be debuting on July 2nd, cool. So we're looking forward to that. The Turner and Hooch series will be going on July 16th, and Chip and Dale Park Life kicks off on July 23rd. Nice. So that's a lot of fun. Finally, one more Marvel announcement that came out this week. We now know the title of the next film featuring our favorite friendly neighborhood web slinger. That is Spider-Man No Way Home.
Wow.
That is the new title of Spider-Man 3.
Very cool.
That is set to be released on December 17th of 2021. They had some fun with it. Tom Holland did a little thing where he kind of put out some teasers of what the name could be, because he got busted before for accidentally letting the last title leak. Right. Yeah, like Spider-Man Phone Home. And I think people had a lot of fun with that, as far as like Spider-Man Home Alone, and a bunch of different fun. So
cute.
That was cute. So that's it for the Disney stories of the week. However, we never leave you without giving you some sort of tip that might help you on your next vacation. And we always start with Michelle, because she's wonderful, gorgeous, hardworking, and she has the very best tip. So let's get to it. Here is Michelle's tip of the week.
Well, thank you. Knowing that this is going to run kind of long, I have a very quick tip. And it's one that actually, I hope you never have to use this tip, but it's one of those that it's probably good to know just in case. And if you've been to Disney World, you know that your temperature checks are done by staff from Advent Health Care. And so if you ever were to need an urgent care visit while staying on the Disney property, they do provide complimentary transportation to their urgent care center. And we can put in the newsletter the phone number that you can call there. And I'm sure if you were at a resort, you could ask somebody, but at least then if you were at the resort staying there and you didn't have a car, you wouldn't have to try to worry about how am I going to get this transportation. You can call and they will provide that to your resort.
Very, very good. That's important, because we have seen people who've gotten injured.
Right.
I mean, you turn an ankle,
Exactly.
Strange things can happen. They do have kitchens. You can use a knife and cut your butt.
Yeah.
Anything that could happen.
Yeah,
it's
you have
good.
Kids, you get
important things to know while you're out there. So good job. Michelle's tip,
Oh.
always the best tip. My tip this week has to do with what I was talking about a little bit before, the touch of Disney. Now, when we last left Disneyland as an open park, they were going through their Disney California Adventure Food and Wine Festival. We previewed it expecting we'd be back there multiple times.
Right.
We got the Sip and Savor Pass expecting we'd be able to use it multiple times. We only used a couple tabs off of it that first time. We're planning on going back. Many of you may be in the same boat we are, where you got your Sip and Savor Pass, only went once expecting to use it again, and you never got to use it again. Well, you won't be able to use it at a Touch of Disney, unfortunately. However, Disney is offering refunds if you still have those in your if you still have those around you. So if you want to get a refund for what's left of your tabs, they're still attached to your Sip and Savor Pass. You can get a $7 refund for each unused tab. Now, again, they have to still be attached. They can't be detached.
Right.
They have to still be attached. And if you want to do that, you can request the refund by calling 888-231-7639. Again, 888-231-7639, or going online at the Disneyland website Help Center and sending them an email and request the refund that way. So
very cool.
There. So we are going to be doing that with ours as well. I can't remember how many we have, 4, 5 left on there.
Oh, at least. Yeah, I think we only used 2.
Right.
So
we will be getting those refunds for there. So you're not out that money. That Disney will at least give you at least a portion of that back to you. So that's good. So
good.
That's it for this week. Next week, I don't know. We're going to do something. We'll figure out something fun, and we will shoot it out to you on the newsletter this week and let you know out on social media as well. But
I saw something on the calendar. Maybe you missed it.
We'll
see.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll figure it all out, and we'll get that out to you this week. We appreciate that you joined us today. In the future, you can find us most everywhere you get podcasts. However, the very best place to find us is on our own website, HyperionAdventuresPodcast.com. And while you're there,
please sign up for our newsletter.
Please sign up for our newsletter. Just another way to be in part of the Hyperion Adventures podcast world. Another way is also to follow us on social media. We're on Twitter at Hyperion Podcast, Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest at Hyperion Adventures Podcast. Please follow along with us on our YouTube channel as well. You can just do a search for Hyperion Adventures Podcast, hit subscribe, and you'll know whenever we have a new video there. And if you ever want to email us, contact us for any reason, hit us up at our Gmail account, HyperionAdventuresPodcast@gmail.com.
We love hearing from you, and we especially appreciate it when you tell a friend about our podcast.
Definitely. That's the best way for people to find out about us. But we really appreciated that you joined us for this little bit longer episode this week, but we had a lot to talk about from our Walt Disney World trip recap, so hope you don't mind that. But thanks for listening to another episode of the Hyperion Adventures Podcast. We look forward to sharing some time with you again next week. Until that time, I'm Tom.
I'm Michelle.
And we hope that you have a magical week.
Bye.